Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
It's okay to be hard. That's what Mike Elko says. It's okay to make the playoffs hard. It's TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And our buddy, Olin Buchanan, half of the go hour, maybe the stronger half, is in Destin on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. OB, good morning, buddy. How's Destin? Has the rain stopped?
It's pretty cloudy today. Looks like it's going to rain any minute. It did clear up yesterday, so the afternoon was nice. It wasn't bright, sunny day, but at least it was overcast, but at least there wasn't a lot of rain.
Okay. Well, first off, what was your big takeaway from Coach Elko?
I say this not as a guy that covers A&M and works at TexAgs, but as just an objective media member. He stole the show yesterday.
Yeah, I thought so from all the tweets that I saw. Yeah,
he just stepped up and answered things, answered questions honestly, intelligently, brutally frank. Threw in a joke here and there, but just spoke with like somebody that just really knows what he's talking about. And some of that was saying, "No, we don't know what we're talking about." Right? He was just he gave you a glimpse as to why people think that his program is strong. Is that he's just a guy, a no nonsense guy that spouts facts, and he's about just being direct.
Well, he's certainly direct. I think, Obi, as you're saying that, I think there's a couple candidates in the SEC that could be this. But like Nick Saban was the voice of the SEC, even if we didn't agree with what he was saying, though. But that's who people would go to like as the strong voice of the SEC. I think Kirby's got a little bit of that now, maybe not to the degree that Coach Saban had. And some of that is going to come down to how much you win or if people are going to listen to you.
Absolutely.
But I do think Coach Elko is becoming one of those strong voices from the conference that not only reporters are going to gravitate to, but like you listen to what he says, and it does feel like it's for the good of the game, not just the good of Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where he is. I mean, you hear, some guys they'll be asking about how many teams you want in the playoffs, and a guy like Kalen DeBoer, I can see everybody's point, not having an opinion. So that's kind of, maybe he really doesn't have an opinion, but, and then other team, guys will be saying, I'm fine with, getting as many people in there as we can because it helps us get in. And I think that, again, Mike coming in and just addressing that question the way he did, so much differently than DeBoer, who's at, you just mentioned Saban. I mean, he's at the highest profile program in the SEC, and you got a coach that's non-committal.
I hope I don't sound like Kalen DeBoer here, OB, because I don't know what the right number is. I do know that 24 is too much. I don't know how I feel about 12. And the reason I don't know my own opinion, I think 12 to 16 works. 16 sounds like a lot to me based on what I'm used to in college football. I don't have a strong opinion yet because I think I'm like Greg Sankey. I just need some information. I do know this. We got a lot of teams, more teams in college football than we do in the other sports, right? We have more than the NFL, more than the NBA. So I understand a bigger playoff. But when mediocre teams make a playoff, I have a problem with that. And when I say mediocre, I'm just saying if you're hovering the line of being 8-4, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking, 8-4, then I don't think you should be invited to the elite party. I think there should be some kind of cutoff.
Yeah, and I think that's what Mike was saying. Hey, it's supposed to be hard. He referenced he just said the year, but he was referencing being the defense coordinator at Texas A&M in 2020. He said, it was a 4-team playoff. We were 5th. And yet you don't see him saying, "Oh, we need to get everybody in." So there's always going to be somebody that's upset, no matter what the number is. But he thinks, hey, it's supposed to be hard to get into the playoff. And, one of the things they don't talk about is how if they they talk about it, but not a lot yet. If they expand the playoff, how that affects the rest of the year. For instance, if you have an expanded playoff, you probably don't have a conference championship game. Well, Trev Alberts is up there saying, "Hey, look, we make about $90 million on the SEC championship game that gets distributed among our, 100% of it gets distributed among our schools." Now, if we do away with that and have an extra playoff game, they're saying that 22% is going to be, I don't know where you got the number, but I should assume, it's probably pretty obvious about all the different schools and everything, different leagues. Well, 22% of that is going to be distributed. Is that 22% going to make up for the 90 million or, that you're going to get for the SEC, right?
Right.
So we need a whole lot more study and putting get the calculators out and everything before we make a decision. So I think it should be hard to get in. I think 16 to me would seem like a perfect compromise. But as you know, the two commissioners involved don't seem to want to compromise. No,
they both are on opposite sides. But if more ADs and coaches want more than 16, because, Elko seems to be, if I were to put a number on it, Elko seems to be more on the 12 side of things. What it seems like, I don't know if he said that directly.
16, yeah, he just said it should be hard to get in.
Right. But if more of the athletic directors and coaches in the SEC want an expanded playoff, Greg Sankey at some point has to do what the people who have put him in that position want.
I would think so. I would think it would come up to a vote, and eventually, or ultimately, I should say, he works for them. That would be like, being a politician that gets elected to represent his constituents, and the majority of them want him to vote a certain way, and then he doesn't. Well, he eventually loses an election, right? So Sankey is in there to represent the SEC, and everybody feels like he's done a great job so far. But if, like you said, if the majority of the SEC ends up wanting that 2014 playoff, then he's going to have to kneel to that and agree to a 2014 playoff.
How much does an expanded playoff, you think, OB, help the SEC from getting teams in? How many did we have last year? We had what, 5? Five, right? So from 12 to 24, you would think there'd be a couple extra spots. And obviously it helps the other conferences way more than the SEC, because I think the smaller the number is, the SEC is always going to have a third or half of the teams in there, right? So if they go to 24, does that mean 7 teams from the SEC get in?
Well, if they went to 16, that had 7 teams from the SEC in last year.
Yeah.
Because Texas and Vanderbilt would have gotten in. So if they went to 24, you might get 8.
So half the league.
Because if there's an 8-4 team that can make an argument, maybe Missouri could have gotten in. I can't remember what Missouri's record was, but I think they're around 8-4.
I think they finished 9-3 in the regular season. Fact check me there, Gaither.
Well, if that's the case, then I'd say definitely Missouri.
She's fact checking me. I might be wrong. In my head, that's what I think of. Anyway, are they going to vote this week on this, or is this
no?
Okay,
I don't think so. We'll see. Greg Sankey's meeting the media at 5:00 today, and I'm sure we'll get an update. But he said on Monday that he didn't think anything was going to be agreed to this week.
Missouri was 8-5. I was wrong, Would be. You're right. Let's move on to another topic from Coach Elko, that college football in general, because we're talking about the playoffs, but the overarching theme is the leadership in college football. And in a little bit, we'll get into what's happening with Ted Cruz, but no unified leadership. And he says, look, we all know it. We all know that there's no unified leadership. We need it.
Yeah, I think the whole playoff debate is a symptom of the lack of unified leadership. As Mike Elko pointed out, he kind of called out his own industry. He said everybody only cares about what's good for them. And he said that's their job. The Big Ten only cares about what's good for the Big Ten. The SEC cares about what's good for the SEC, and so on and so forth. And so no one's really out there to look out for what's good for the game. What's best for the SEC may not be what's best for the game overall, or the same thing for the Big Ten, right? And he says, we need unified leadership that makes those decisions whether you like it or not. I can remember, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I can remember several years ago, Goodell, I think it was, making some kind of, it was Goodell suspended Ezekiel Elliott for something that apparently happened when he was in college or something. And Jerry Jones was outraged and, fought it and everything. But Goodell, who I don't like, but he stood steadfast saying, no, this is what's best, because we can't have our players get involved in things like this, right? So he stood his ground. And whether you agree with it or not, at least you had someone that was making a decision that he thought was best for the league. Now, we can debate whether or not it was best for the league, but there was somebody to make a decision other than, people just doing what they want.
Obi, one of the other things is Coach Elko hinted that NIL spending is headed towards financial crisis. Expand a little bit on his thoughts, because what did he say? In a couple years, A&M's NIL budget might be more than what they make in TV revenue?
Yeah, he was saying that in 2.5 years, at the rate, it has to, that they have to
the inflation.
Increase,
yep.
They have to increase the player payout. I think he was talking about everybody in the SEC, right? Not just A&M. And then, if not just A&M, probably everybody in college football, that the money you're paying out will exceed what you're bringing in through your TV deals. Now, I guess that excludes, what you're selling in tickets and selling concessions and so on, and parking. But that's an alarming stat, something I think a lot of us didn't know. If that's 100% accurate, and Mike Elko said it, so I assume it is 100% accurate. I'll take that to the bank. So people's been saying for years that this is an unsustainable model, and yet they even say you can't count on. They could say now maybe it would go to court, but they could say, all right, we're putting up a salary cap for everybody in college football now. And everybody can agree to it, but they'll still cheat.
Yep.
And he was even asked about that. Would your colleagues, abide to those rules? He goes, not without consequences and not without enforcement. And yet there really is no enforcement or consequences in college sports right now. It doesn't seem like. Can you tell me the last time you thought, wow, man, somebody really paid the price for that? Like the whole thing, tampering deal between Ole Miss and Clemson. I mean, there's a rule. You're not ever supposed to tamper. Well, what happened to Ole Miss? Nothing. What's going to happen to Ole Miss? Nothing.
Yeah, you're right. Obi, the other thing that he talked about that I just don't think is realistic is, and not because it doesn't make sense, it makes total sense, but self-governance, right? SEC self-governance, because it would put them at a competitive disadvantage against the other conferences, and then they lose their place. Could you see this actually going on a self-government, SEC kind of putting its own rules?
Well, that's actually, I don't think they're going to come up with rules on game day that are different, but no,
No, but I'm saying like NIL and whatnot.
Yeah, but I would say this: if the SEC adopted its own rules, I think they're going to probably be more aggressive toward the players than maybe other conferences. I mean, that's how the SEC's always been. But I don't know. That's probably over my head. I'm thinking if the SEC ever said, okay, we're going to be able to say that, so you're not supposed to have athletic dorms anymore, right?
Right.
But we're going to do athletic dorms, and we're not, the players are going to live there, and they're going to be like 5-star hotels and things like that, and only athletes can live there if you're in the SEC. And by gosh, we're going to pay this no matter what even the rule might say, hey, you can pay $25 million out now, and they're going to say, well, we're going to pay $50 million because people's doing that anyway. So I don't know what rule they could change. And again, there's probably something obvious. It's just over my head that would make them outcasts.
Yeah. Hey, OB, this is TexAgs Live.
Yes, it is. It's brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers.
I'm currently in the Rollo Insurance Studio. You are not.
I'm not. I'm in a hotel room in Sandestin, Florida.
And the Holistic Planning Cool Zone traveled to kind of above you.
All the way to Sandestin, Florida. It's, in fact, because of the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, it's cooler out here in Florida than it typically is.
That's very nice. That's great to hear. I love that. And it is the go hour because we're going this hour all hour long. And that's brought to you by the Warehouse at CC Creations.
It is indeed. Thank you, Warehouse.
Yeah, thank you, Warehouse. That's how I prefer to call it, Warehouse, not CC.
Yes.
And by the way, you can call us up on the Buppy's Catering and
Bartending
Hotline. Go ahead.
That number is 979-693-1150.
But if you text that number, it changes, OB.
Yes, it changes to the Catalyst Pure Performance Energy text line, PPE.
You can text that number, 979-693-1150. Let's go around the room. We go left to right. We go behind the glass. And Cade Bickham for the third straight day behind the glass. Cade, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, y'all. I actually have some news regarding an Aggie in the NBA Western Conference Finals. Alex Caruso,
AC Fresh,
22 points last night in Game 5, 6 assists, 3 steals, shot 50% from 3-point range. Just a fantastic outing from him as the Thunder win Game 5. They go up 3-2 in the series, 1 win away from their second straight NBA Finals appearance.
All that dude does is win. I would say in my 12 minutes of watching this series that he is your MVP. I know a lot of people are going to say Shy, but the way AC has been playing, he gets my vote. If I get a media vote, I'm voting for AC Fresh.
I'm not a big Thunder fan at all. And I know my son, who's really in the NBA, hates him, but I would love to see Alex Caruso win another ring. Have as many as LeBron James.
The Robert Horry of this era. That is Alex Caruso. All that guy does is win. He's got 2 championships, right? He's going for his 3rd.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kayla Gaither is in the house. Hello, Kayla.
Hello, how are you guys?
I'm just doing.
Yeah, well, I will say I am a Spurs fan. I'm from San Antonio, and I've watched this series pretty regular. Like last night I was watching it and just was so upset about how the Spurs performed last night. But I will say Alex Caruso definitely deserves an MVP vote. He's been playing lights out. I think
was he mostly on Wemby yesterday? Because I saw that Wemby struggled a bit.
It was Hartenstein on Wemby a lot, but he had 22 points off the bench. Caruso did. Yeah. So he's been performing really well. But I do want to turn to some news out of college football. So Pete Thamel yesterday reported that the NCAA has denied Brendan Sorsby eligibility or his request for reinstatement for the 2026 season. So he will now, his fate is now in the hands of the Lubbock courts and what they're going to do with him.
Oh, you're laughing?
Hope he's laughing.
You know what? I wish that if I was ever in trouble, that my fate would come down to the hands of the TexAgs jury. I'd feel pretty confident that I'd beat the rap.
Which TexAgs jury? Game Day Thread TexAgs jury or the rest?
my demographic, the senior citizens of TexAgs on the jury.
Oh, the people you visit at the home, your future home.
Yeah, all of them. I want I would have almost as good a chance to have a ruling in my favor. Not quite as good, but almost as good a chance with that group as Brendan Sorsby has with a judge in Lubbock.
Okay, so let's do another one.
Well, we got a text from Trey in College Station talking about Sankey. He says Sankey represents ESPN Disney. They don't want expansion because it opens CFP broadcasting rights to other bidders. And I will point out this is something that yesterday SEC Mike was talking about. Mm-hmm. He said that ESPN Disney has a very large share in broadcasting rights. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. At some point, it's going to expand, though, mm-hmm. right? And I, as much as ESPN Disney wants that, if everybody else is fighting them, now the SEC is eventually going to have to agree if they're going to expand. But if everybody else wants to expand, eventually it's going to expand, right?
Either that or we'll always stay at 12.
Yeah. Well, they already said the Big Ten, who initially brought up the 16-team playoff, now it's like, it's 24 or we stay at 12. And the SEC is like, all right, we'll just stay at 12. Sounds good.
Yeah. Because everybody's looking out for what's best for them and not what's best for the game. don't know what's best for the game. I think what's best for the game is 16, but what do I know? I'm like Elko yesterday. He was saying, why are you guys asking me questions?
OB, why don't you do me a favor, okay?
Okay.
Get Petiti and Greg Sankey on their private jets, come down close to Easterwood Airport, make a left out of there, and just have them chat it out, buddy, with a good meal.
Yeah, I would say, hey, go to 1775. You can put aside your differences and build bridges, come together. So find something you can agree on. Like, I know they can agree on that succulent brisket being amazing, and they can agree on those pork ribs being fabulous. They can agree on that jalapeno sausage being unworldly delicious. And then they could agree on that queso mac and cheese. But I would bring that queso mac and cheese first to Greg Sankey, and he could hold it up to Tony Petiti and say, see this mac and cheese? You got to agree to 16, or I'm not gonna give it up. I'm not going for 24. If you want 24, no queso mac and cheese. And I bet then it would be a slam dunk. We'd build a 16 team, and Tony Petiti would get the queso mac and cheese.
I find this to be a very realistic situation. I think I can actually see it playing out the way you just described it, OB. You can call up 1775 at 979-492-6241, or you can visit their website, 1775txbbq.com. It is 1775.
And it's good.
Mm. Hey everyone, David Nuño here of TexAgs Live. I want to introduce you to the team at Holistic Planning. Got Jason Barber here, Taylor Pankratz, and also Paul Meredith. Jason, I want to start off with you. What really sets Holistic Planning apart from the others?
Yeah, so what makes us different is most financial advisors stop at investment management. On the other hand, Holistic Planning, we manage investments, taxes, and estate planning all on one team, all underneath one roof.
Now, Taylor, when everything is coordinated like that, it really helps the bottom line, doesn't it?
It really does. When your investments and taxes are working together, you stop leaving money on the table and keep more of what's yours.
Paul, Holistic Planning is trying to expand as well.
That's true. We just opened our Houston office, and we're looking for people who feel like their advisor isn't seeing the full picture, because that's exactly what we fix.
And Jason, there's other opportunities beyond that.
Definitely. If you're a financial advisor and you want to join the Holistic Planning team, we're looking to add 50 teams in the next 5 to 10 years. So check out holisticplanning.com/advisors.
All right, so if you want a team that actually coordinates everything, go to holisticplanning.com. Aggies, this one is worth it. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live. Trying to be zany morning host. TexAgs Live is presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to Olin Buchanan still on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. He's live in Destin. OB, buddy, I'm smart-ish, right? Not smart, but smart-ish, right? A lot of times when, like, politics gets involved with sports, I'm like, man, this article's I'm just not digesting the information the way I want to. This one kind of makes sense. Bipartisan college sports bill with salary cap for players, antitrust protection set to be introduced in the next couple of days with Cantwell and Ted Cruz bill. Delayed several times, but it looks like it's going to be seeing lawmakers soon. Doesn't mean they're going to vote on it, but it looks like they're trending in that direction.
Yeah. First of all, I think the NCAA showed what it was all about all those years ago when they looked to Congress to solve their problems. Stupid, right? And that's why we're in the situation we're in. But finally, maybe they'll have an opportunity to solve at least some of the problems. Like Mike Elko said, in the current economic environment of college football, that they're going to be spending more than they're making. So something has to be done. It's funny. I mean, not many people are ever going to feel sorry for college athletics. When you have coaches making millions of dollars not to coach, and other coach, the best job in America right now is a fired college football coach. And then you have guys when they are coaching sometimes even without a lot of success or a great resume, getting $4 and $5 and $6 million deals. And then you have athletic directors and support staff for athletic directors are making millions, and support staff, if not millions, hundreds of thousands. And then they come to a place like Destin for meetings, and Tampa for meetings, and all these things. And then they come to Congress and say, we need help because we're going to go broke. It's hard for them to get a lot of sympathy, but they're like Mike Elko said, what industry can you name doesn't have a CEO and operates the way college football operates? So no, probably none, especially none that's successful. So for the success of college athletics, so a lot of programs don't start getting cut and things like that. Something has to be done, and hopefully, this bill or this proposal will be voted on and passed. But it seems like these kind of things get tabled, get pushed back. I think it'll be hard to get it passed. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I do too. But the idea of more SEC athletic directors on board with potentially making their athletes employees, I don't see that happening. But apparently there's a lot more momentum for that than in years past. And this bill could be, leaning in that direction where I guess federal legislation could put some type of antitrust exemption towards these athletes or towards the college football in general.
Yeah, and it needs an antitrust exemption badly. So I guess they're not going to court all the time over every little thing. To me, I don't like it, but to me, doesn't it seem, aren't they really employees anyway? You're paying them. They're getting health care. And here's the deal. If you're paying them, I understand. Still give them the scholarship to go to school. But if they're getting paid, should they be getting free room and board and all those other things as well?
Well, we started going through some number crunching yesterday of what it's going to cost for my boys to go to school. I could certainly use that bit of help myself, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a big bill.
Absolutely. So again, since they're getting paid and sometimes getting paid quite well, why are they still getting money for their room and board? Just a thought. I don't know if Ted Cruz's bill or whatever it's called addresses that. I doubt it if it does.
OB, let's hit a little break here. When we come back, I want to do some baseball with you, but also a football topic that came across my timeline that I thought you might have an opinion or two on. So we'll do that on the other side. Let's talk Rollo Insurance now. They're an insurance group that builds lasting relationships. They do that through education. They want to help you understand what you're buying and the why behind it. They have 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but you know where their headquarters is, right here in College Station on Highway 6. Jason, Jackson, the entire team at Rollo Insurance is fantastic. They've been my insurance provider since I moved to the area, but they're all over Texas, right? So you can get them. They're all over the country as well. They'll explain to you your policy in easy language so you know exactly what you're paying for, the why behind it, and what you need for stuff to happen. Their educational approach empowers you to make informed decisions about protecting your family, your home, and your business. What you need to do is check out the website, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Or call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. Hey everyone, David Nuño of TexAgs Live, and I'm here with Brandon Moreau of Brazos Valley Floor and Design. They're a family-owned business, and Brandon used to work for the A&M football team, the Texans, you name it. Brandon, tell us a little bit about Brazos Valley Floor and Design.
Yeah, like you said, family business. We started in 1999. It was in a small feed store, and about 4 years later, my dad decided he wanted to grow the business and kind of focus on that. So we're in the location we are at now, and we have a large showroom with salespeople with designer experience, a lot of stocking power, and we catered a lot to residential builders, and we do a little commercial work as well.
Tell me about your other company as well, Premier Countertop Design.
Yeah, Premier Countertop Design is right there on site, so it's kind of a one-stop shop. People can come by, they can look at their slabs that they're going to cut, they're going to compare to their cabinet colors, their backsplash that they're going to do at our flooring store, and we have a lot of digital. We're doing a lot of digital stuff. We're templating, water jet, laser measuring, all different things like that.
So tell me a little bit about what sets you guys apart from the rest of the competition.
I think just being here in the community for 27 years in business, and our vendors that we have the relationships with, the pricing we can get because of how much we can buy in stock and things like that. And then as far as the countertop business, it's just the way we can be precise with what we do.
All right, there you have it, guys. Check out the website, bvflooranddesign.com and premiercountertopdesign.com.
What's up, Ags? Marcel Reed here, and you're listening to the Go Hour with Nuño and OB on TexAgs Live.
We're back here on TexAgs Live. Let's continue on with OB in Destin. OB, Heather Dinich of ESPN. You familiar with her work?
Actually, she was standing right behind me in the line when I went to get breakfast at the hotel.
Okay.
Coffee. Yeah, I know Heather.
Well, she was on ESPN yesterday playing This or That. Are you familiar with that game?
Yeah.
Okay. And they gave her the option of Gunnar Stockton or Marcel Reed. And she went on to go with Gunnar Stockton. I'm just going to give you a little bit of her reasons behind it. I'm going to go with Gunnar Stockton because he was more clutch, particularly in the fourth quarter last year. He's got a total QBR of 86, and he had 34 touchdowns. He's got to get some more air out of that deep ball, a lot of screen passes last year. Known as a game manager. Can he broaden that portfolio? Marcel Reed, I still have questions about his decision-making. The last two games in particular, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He also got sacked a lot more in those games. So I'm going with Stockton.
I think that's all reasonable.
Yep.
I can't argue with any of that. Now, I would say this, and people can call me a homer if they want to. I would take Marcel Reed for this reason. I think Marcel Reed has a much greater ceiling than Gunnar Stockton. And I've seen Gunnar have some problems in big games too. That Notre Dame playoff game 2 years ago. Of course, he was kind of thrust into action, but still. But I do think that, like she said, Gunnar Stockton's a game manager. Marcel Reed, especially if they'll unleash him and encouraging, to use that God-given ability to run, use that more often. I think he can be a game changer.
I'm going to look. I'm not disagreeing with her or agreeing with her. Like I would take Marcel. He's my guy. But I'm not disappointed that she picked Gunnar Stockton for her reasons. But the last part stuck out to me. He also got sacked a lot more in those last two games. So I'm going with Stockton. And did Marcel Reed all of a sudden become a bad runner? Did he forget how to scramble? Or maybe the lack of a running game and the offensive line did have some issues towards the end of the season. Maybe that contributed a little bit to some of his mistakes. He definitely has to throw more accurately. He's got to make some better decisions. I'm not taking that because it was a problem. But that part of it, getting sacked more, some of it was on Marcel holding on the ball too much, but some of it I think was absolutely the offensive line didn't do their end of the bargain towards the end of the season.
Well, especially against the Miami, because I keep coming back to look. I can't falter for that because I keep coming back like the Miami game. You remember the play, and it was very windy, but there can't be any excuses. And he scrambles out of the pocket to the right, and he looks up and he has Casey Concepcion at the 20, wide open. Nobody's even in the TV picture, and Marcel throws the ball too low and it's incomplete. And that, if you complete that pass, the Aggies might win it. He also had a pass that toward the end of the game that could have tied it to Reuben Owens. Reuben took a big hit and the ball was jolted free, but the pass was good and on the money. So, we forget that part of the situation with Marcel. Sometimes he actually made the play or he made his end of the play. And, you talk about, he played, he didn't get it done against Texas, but he got it done against Miami. And just like Gunnar Stockton, some games he didn't get it done, and some games he did. Again, I don't fault her for having that opinion. I understand it. It's reasonable. But from somebody that watches Marcel I wonder how many games Heather Dinich has ever sit down and actually watched from start to finish of Texas A&M.
Yeah, look, I find Marcel to be such an interesting topic because people I think they made up their mind about him before last season. And then they got quiet when he was having his run, right?
Yeah.
And then, see, I was right. Told you. Look at the last two games. And look, we who cover the team closely know the mistakes. We know the warts. We're not saying those mistakes and warts aren't valid points. I just think for some reason, and maybe it's because I'm seeing it from an A&M perspective, and it could be my fault here, that they seem to forget all the good things, too, when they talk about him.
Yeah. Well, and everything gets magnified when it's toward the end of the season, then in a big rivalry game, and then in a playoff game. We understand that. Look, I'll say it again. I think Marcel's ceiling is so high. And if Marcel continues to improve, and he has to improve, but if he does, I think he could be a Heisman Trophy, a serious contender, just like he was last year before the Texas game. I've said it before. Marcel had plays that could have made him the Heisman favorite that were overturned because of penalties that he wasn't involved in. 2 long touchdown runs and what would have been a touchdown pass against Auburn that would have nailed it down. Nailed down that win, I mean. And one was I think 2 were holding penalties, and one of the holding penalties was bogus, and I think the other one was it was illegal, ineligible man downfield. He was down like Amaje was downfield like 3 yards. So I've seen Marcel be really good. I've seen him be frustratingly mistake prone. If he can clean up those mistakes, especially 12 interceptions are gonna. I mean that's gonna raise some flags. But when you see that half of them are in the red zone, that even makes it even more alarming. So if he can address that issue, and I think Holman Wiggins is going to help him with that. If he can address that issue, then I think I think she might change her mind if she was asked that question at the end of next season instead of the beginning.
Obi, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I want you to come up with 2, 3, 4 things, maybe 5, whatever you can come up with, things that are in A&M's favor this weekend at the regional. Okay? Simple assignment. I'll throw you some ideas as well. All right, we'll do that on the other side. All right, right now we're talking about the Daily Company. In Texas, your HVAC system isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And when you need service, it matters who you call. That's why you should call the Daily Company. They're locally owned and operated, and they take real pride in serving this awesome community. Their HVAC department provides comprehensive service, including repair, maintenance, and full system installation. So if your AC stops working in the middle of the summer and your heater, or if maybe your heater needs attention during the winter, they're going to take great care of you. But this summer, especially with the heat, you want to make sure your HVAC is taken care of. They have HVAC repair from an emergency standpoint because they know that breakdowns never happen at a convenient time. And they will work with all the top brands, Lennox, Trane, Goodman, Rheem, Honeywell, Daikin, and Amana. So no matter what your system is, they got you. It's a Daily Company. They stand behind their work, and they treat every home like it's their own. Contact the Daily Company at 979-2060-2020. That's 979-260-2020. It's the Daily Company. Experience the daily difference.
I'm Wes Mangan, and I live on a piece of property with my wife and 2 boys and several animals. I work in oil and gas, and I travel a lot, and so when I come home, it's like my sanctuary. I get to see Lauren and the boys, and it's been just a perfect fit for us, and it's really improved our family time. And this is the first land I'd ever purchased, so dealing with the land side of things and dealing with Capital Farm Credit was super easy for us through the whole process. I definitely feel like with Capital Farm Credit, together we are better.
Final segment of the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, what does A&M have in its favor this weekend at the regional?
Well, I would say, first of all, they're at home. Secondly, they get to choose how they want, right? Isn't that right? They get to choose how they want the schedule to play out.
They're going to play first.
Yeah, they get to play the lesser or the least highest seeded team. I don't know how big of an advantage is that, but you'd always, if you're playing the number 4 team in the bracket. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but that's kind of an edge. They have just an incredible, or they have a very potent batting lineup. In fact, their top 3 is probably, I would say, definitely better than anybody in the fields. I do think that they need to make a change at 4. I don't think they're getting enough productivity out of that cleanup spot, but that's just me. I'm not an expert on it. And in a close game, late, you can bring in Clayton Freshcorn, and I doubt other teams have good pitchers. That's why they're here. But I doubt if anybody has a closer as reliable as Clayton Freshcorn.
Well, I'm going to give you some Captain Obvious ones, right? They're really good at home, right? As they should be, but this team especially is very good at home. Ranked 6th nationally in home runs with 114, 4th in slugging. So when this offense is clicking, and typically it does, I know against Auburn this last game it wasn't, but I think that's that's hopefully an isolated incident. It doesn't happen often. They also have bounced back so many times this year after a bad loss. So maybe they lose by double digits in game 1 of a series. They find a way to win the series, right? They have a very good bounce back gene. They've done it all season long. And I think with Nico Partita coming back, it just feels right. He's an excellent player. B, offensively, he protects everybody else in the lineup. C, defensively, I think they get a little bit more whole again. It allows players to go back to what they were playing at earlier in the season when their defense was one of the tops in the country. So I think all those reasons, I have not watched USC play. I'm just reading what people say about them, right? And hear what Bronny says and what Richard says and Kendall says. I worry about that pitching staff if A&M gets to play them, because they could lose, A&M could lose, a lot of things can happen. But I just don't think, you might have this record, what are they, 1-11 in quad 1 games? I believe is what the USC's record was.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, 1-11 in quad 1 games. A&M plays that level of competition routinely in the SEC. So I just think they're built for this regional.
Yeah. USC, I've heard, has really good pitchers, but their batting order, their offense might leave something to be desired, from what I've read. Look, I know A&M got shut out last game. I'll still take that lineup against anybody. And by the way, I would move Coach Early hasn't called me to ask for an opinion, but I'd move Partita if he's ready to go. I'd move him to bat 4th.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I won't be in town for the games, unfortunately, but I'll certainly be watching. I do think it is extremely important to go deep into games with your starting pitcher, right? If it's Darden, if it's Shane, if it's Weston, when it's Aiden Sims, you do not want to put yourself in a position in game 1 where you only have Darden for an inning and a half, 2 innings, right? You need some length, because you don't know how long this is going to go. And A&M's depth is just significantly smaller than the other ones when it comes to a pitching staff.
It's true. Absolutely right. Hopefully they can get some quality pitching or just, some bats that are just mashing. So that would give Coach Early the luxury of maybe sticking with a guy an extra inning, even if he's not 100%, because it's like being at the table and you can playing poker. You can bet a little crazier and more aggressive if you got chips. If you're playing with the lead. So hopefully that'll be the case. Hopefully they'll get great pitching and great hitting.
Obi, what's the game plan for today?
About to head over to the Hilton Sandestin, start working on a column. There'll be some football coaches that didn't go yesterday that'll do a press conference. I think 9 went yesterday, and I'll listen in and see if anybody says anything significant. Greg Sakey is going around 5 o'clock, so I'll hang around for that. The busiest day at Destin was yesterday.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Today, and then I'll be hanging around after Sankey or before Sankey to see who comes out, Elko, Trev Alberts, and see if they are willing to say anything to us. Mike typically doesn't have anything else to say after that first day, not even hi, because one time I said hi, and he said, I've said everything I'm going to say. Okay, I'm just saying hi, Coach. And Trev is kind of hit and miss.
Do you think anything major will come out of today?
No.
Rarely
does anything major come out of here.
I thought yesterday was a pretty big day.
Huh?
I thought yesterday was a pretty big day, maybe because Coach Elko held court and had so many great opinions.
Rarely does any actual news happen. Now, it did a couple of years ago when they finally announced that, yes, they're going to a 9-game schedule.
Yeah.
But typically, nothing does. But, we'll be around in case it does.
OB, thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
See ya.
The great Olin Buchanan there on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. John Harris from footballtakeover.com. And, of course, he's the Houston Texans sideline reporter. We'll chit-chat with Johnny on the other side. You're listening to the TexAgs Live. We are back. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. Working on getting John Harris from footballtakeover.com here on the show here momentarily. We'll chit-chat with him about all these things when it comes to the college football playoffs. In fact, we've got him there on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We talked to our friend John Harris. Johnny, good morning, buddy. Hear a lot of singing, but not a lot of John Harris. Johnny, you there, buddy? Johnny Harris. There he is.
What's going on, David? How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Well, I'm driving in the rain.
Okay.
Taking my wife to the airport, so she's getting to hear everything that you say and everything that I say, and I'm sure in 20 minutes when I'm done, there will be a lot of questions about the things that I do say and we talk about.
Well, we could talk about, traveling. We could talk about acting. We can talk about beach life. You name it, Johnny. Or we could just talk about the college football playoff expansion.
Yeah, we could talk about that. I'm sure that's number one on the list for sure. In fact, there's a nodding of the head telling me that's exactly what she wants to hear.
So I guess we'll start off with Coach Elko yesterday and basically sarcastically saying, yeah, we should do 40 so I don't get fired. I'm paraphrasing what he said. He thinks it needs to be exclusive. I think you are on that same boat. It needs to be exclusive. What do you think about what coaches are saying and what's actually going to happen?
It's funny because I feel like coaches have no say in this, David. I mean, I feel like what was it, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so, when the AFCA came out and gave their recommendation for 24, and I just don't know that I don't know that's right for a number of different reasons. But, Coach obviously said something in jest, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, look, you get to the playoff. I mean, it's like getting to the NCAA tournament. A lot of basketball coaches have saved their careers. I think, well, for the time being, Seth Greenberg was a great example of that. When he was at Virginia Tech, he kept getting them in the NCAA basketball tournament by the skin of his teeth, just so close, but he would get in. And that kept him coming back. And eventually the bottom fell out at Virginia Tech for basketball, but he kept getting in the tournament, and that was enough to kind of, okay, let's keep him around. And obviously basketball, Virginia Tech takes a back seat to football, but you think about it. Hey, my team might be 8-4, but they keep getting a shot in the playoff. Hey, let's keep Coach around. The strange thing, in a sense, is that ultimately works against the program, because if you keep giving the same coach that opportunity, just because he got in the playoff, but that coach isn't showing any improvement to make them a championship team, then you're just spinning your wheels. And I think that's where, you might say on one hand, yeah, let's keep him around because he makes the playoff. But the other side is, well, wait, we're not getting any closer to a championship. So then you're going to end up firing a coach that gets you in the playoff every single year. It's going to be a dicey situation, I think, for universities, presidents, et cetera, going forward to try and determine, all right, do we keep this guy around? Does this guy give us an absolute 100% chance to win the championship? Or are we just happy going to the playoff? And I know there are a lot of NCAA tournament basketball schools that are like, we're just happy to go to the playoff. We're happy to be there. We're happy to get to the second round, to get a win. But look, if you're the top 12, top 16, you're thinking, man, I can go win this championship. But if you're from 16 to 24, man, that's an uphill road. You're sitting at 8-4. You're just happy to be in there. And then you're going to be happy to be in there again the next year. But you're not any closer to winning a championship. So I think coaches see that side. Yes, it does give me some job security. But if you're not consistently pushing your team, whether it's transfer portal, whether it's NIL collective money, whatever, changing your coordinators to try and push your team to go win a championship, if you're just happy getting to the playoff, that ain't the right guy anyways, if you know what I mean.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. John, there's this talk about, the government getting involved. There's this talk about maybe the SEC kind of having self-governance. There's the financial situation all involved in this. How do you see what the future is going to be? Like, I'm not saying this year, right? But 5 years from now, what do you think college football looks like?
Oh, boy. There's a part of me, David, that kind of thinks about, you and I've gotten to be a big soccer fan. And I look at how the club system works in Europe, and I know people that, college football fans are, you're using Europe as a comparison, but hear me out. The Premier League is 20 teams. They play X number of games. They come up with a Premier League champion. And that's it. And they sit by themselves. Now there's La Liga. There are other, clubs in different countries, etc. But the Premier League is the premier league in all of Europe. They do their own thing. Now, they have a Champions League where they put together all the champions, and that's pretty special. But if you win the Premier League, hey, you've won a Super Bowl, seemingly. So I think that when you're talking about if the SEC were to govern itself and do its own thing, if you were to win the SEC, I think you would have done something major at that point. You don't need to go really prove yourself. Oh, let's go beat the Big Ten team or let's go beat this team. I mean, you could, and you could come up with some sort of like Champions League. Hey, we'll take the champions from these 4 conferences, and this is the way we're going to do it. Maybe that's the way to do it. But, when I hear this about the SEC doing its own self-governance, I'm like, well, yeah, why not? I mean, they kind of stand alone from all the other conferences. Why carry the other conferences that don't have quite the panache that the SEC does? Yeah, there's the Big Ten, and maybe you want to peel off with the Big Ten and do something with the Big Ten, but I don't know. Maybe those are the two that pull away, and those are the two that come up with 20 teams in each conference. There's 40 overall, and they come up with some, 15-game regular season. I know that's long. They come up with some sort of, hey, this is how we do it, and then we play the 2 champions, and that's considered the college football champion winner. I don't know. I feel like we're kind of headed that direction, that you're going to have these 2 big power conferences. I just don't know that the Big 12 can sustain what the SEC's got. I don't know that the ACC can sustain it. So I feel like the SEC and the Big 10 can going forward, and those are the 2 conferences that everybody wants to watch anyway. So I don't really want to see it happen, but the college football is not like the NFL. The NFL where everybody's got the same salary cap, same roster numbers, the same, with the salary cap, same amount of money you can utilize, same rules, same everything. They don't have that in college football. So can you do it for a conference and do it that way in the conference? Yes. I don't know that you can do it for all of college football, but you can do it within a conference. And that's why I think eventually the SEC and the Big Ten will either pull themselves away, will govern themselves and just come up with their own champion, and then we'll have controversy who's the better champion, the Big Ten or the SEC, who knows. But I think that's where we're going eventually, because you're never going to have equity in college football across 5, 6, 7 conferences. Isn't going to happen. So at that point, maybe the 2 best need to pull away, do their thing, and maybe the rest of them, there's more equity across the ACC, Pac-12, Big 12, etc., that they can have a champion. The Big Ten, SEC can have a champion. Look, you've got it in like I said, European soccer. You got Champions League, you got Europa. You've got different ways to win a championship, and everybody's happy. Aston Villa won the Europa League championship. They celebrated like they had won the Super Bowl, and it was great for them. They didn't win Champions League, but they won Europa. So maybe that's what the ACC and Big 12 need to be playing for going forward, and the SEC and the Big 10 need to be playing for the big trophy.
John, unfortunately, a lot of our audience doesn't listen or watch European soccer, but I think that model makes so much sense in college football, to where these other programs can qualify for your Champions League, quote unquote, but if you don't, you can then qualify for the Europa League. So I think that model would absolutely rock in the United States with college football. Do you want a promotion relegation thing, or everybody who's involved can qualify?
I would love to have a promotion relegation thing. I think it's one of the most exciting things about European soccer. I think it's fantastic. Now, the hard part of course, is, you know, do you relegate, you know, 2 or 3? You know, how would you go about it? You know, I don't know. I think it could work, especially if you set up a tiered system of, okay, SEC, Big Ten, they're the top. Then there's the ACC and the Big 12, and you're going to take 2 from each and, you know, promote them and 2 relegated down. I think that could end up being really, in all honesty, I thought that would be badass. I think that would be really cool. It would make the regular season matter for everybody that is in the conference. Like, hey man, we can't be in this bottom 2. We're going to go down to the ACC. You know, then if you're ACC, hey, we can't be in the bottom 2 because then we're going down to the, I don't know, USA or Sun Belt. Yeah, you could absolutely set up college football in a tiered system like they have in European soccer. Now, there are going to be a lot of college presidents unhappy about it, but then again, college presidents are already unhappy about the fact that you have no equity in college football. So let's create some sort of equity and think about the games at a lower division in which, hey, the winner of this game is going to end up moving up and getting promoted. I mean, think about that, David. A game between, I don't know, Duke and North Carolina determines whether one of them gets into the higher tier of the SEC Big Ten. I mean, that game is phenomenal. Normally, nobody's really paying attention to Duke, North Carolina, but if it means promotion to the big league, man, that's going to get a lot of eyeballs, and it's going to make college football that much more exciting. It's also going to make it dicier for a lot of college coaches, too. Like, you get relegated after a couple of good seasons. Yikes. Like Tottenham in Premier League soccer. Tottenham's always been a top 10 team, top 8 team, or Europa League team. All of a sudden, they were flirting with relegation. It was crazy that they were flirting with relegation. Now, they ended up making it, but then there's West Ham, who has also been a team in the top 10, top 12. They get demoted. Like, hey, sucks to be you guys, but this is the way, this is the rules we have it. And, man, how exciting is it when you get promoted? And how disappointing is it to get relegated? So it could get kind of interesting if you set up a tiered system like that in college football for sure.
John, you mentioned that, you know, the Big 12 and the ACC, other than maybe Texas Tech and a few schools in the ACC like Miami, could, you know, keep up with the SEC and the Big 10. But Coach Elko yesterday kind of mentioned that the way this is going, that, you know, some of these SEC schools are going to have an NIL budget that's more than they're making off TV revenue. That's kind of the direction that it seems to be escalating.
Yeah, and I think this is the one thing that they've probably got to get a handle on, and I'm not totally sure what makes sense. I think the easy answer is to say, a salary cap. Well, that gets real dicey, really, really dicey, because, you know, are the players now employees? Boy, this gets tough. But I do think that there has got to be at some point some sort of monetary, I don't want to say control, but it's got to get to a point where those two curves, you know, the amount of TV money and the amount of money that goes to the actual schools, which then, you know, is then siphoned down to the players and the prospects at that point, that those two have got to be, you know, somewhat parallel. And right now, one is, you know, kind of going over the positive slope. One's going with almost a vertical line, that being the NIL money, et cetera. You know, the salary cap would be the one that kind of makes sense. And maybe if you do it by conference, you know, you can come up with particular rules for it. Maybe in a conference, these players are considered employees. I mean, that's going to be a really tough legal fight, though. So I don't know how you're going to end up doing that. And that is something that the powers that be in college football. And there's the question, David. Who are the powers that be in college football? Who really are they? Is there a commissioner that they're answering to? Is there a board of directors that they're answering to? No, really. So at that point, every conference is like, all right, every man for themselves. Go ahead. And it just, that's where we're getting into trouble, if you want to put it that way. I don't want to limit or cap what players can end up making. I mean, without them, we don't have this sport. So I'd like to see them get paid, but I'd also like to see a sport that can thrive both from a financial standpoint, but also from a fan standpoint. And if we continue along that line where, you know what, there are only 5 teams that can afford to pay their prospects or their players, well above the TV money that they get, well, we're kind of back to square one, aren't we? We're back to, well, it's the same old 5 teams every single year because they've got the money. That to me is the solution that somebody's got to come up with in college football. But I think first they've got to start with some sort of commissioner that either governs, the tiered system they come up with, or just let each conference do what they're going to do and just let them fight it out that way. But that's going to lead to more chaos, I think, down the road. But I think the biggest thing is coming up with that system that works for everybody, where the NIL and the collective and basically the salary, as I put in air quotes, is not so far above the TV money that they're getting that you're not separating the top 4 or 5 teams financially that can pay for their teams and others can't.
Johnny, last thing for you. This just came across my timeline. Brett McMurphy says that SEC coaches said they were misled about a 9-game league schedule. They were told the playoffs would expand to 16 teams if they agreed. It didn't. And one of these quotes they felt misled comes from Florida's John Summerall.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, they went to 9 games before Summerall got in the conference, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they went to 9 games, or they planned to go to 9 games. That was announced before Summerall even took over, right?
Yeah, I think he's just saying they felt misled as a new member of the conference talking to other coaches. I think he's speaking with his conversations with them that at the time they, as a group, felt misled.
I mean, I kind of understand it, I guess. I mean, if that's what they were told, hey, we're going to go to 16 teams. But the flip side of that is, yeah, we told you we're going to 16 teams, but it might be 20, 30 by the time we get there. So, I don't know. Maybe that's where the confusion lies, is the fact that they were told. Now, if they were told, hey, we go to 9 games, we're going to 16 playoff teams, and that's going to happen in 2026, okay, they've got a right to be upset. Now, if they were told, yeah, we're going to go to 16 playoff teams, and that's the end of the sentence, then I don't know what they can do about that. What can you say about that? So, who's to say? Listen, I've been around a lot of coaches in my life. I've seen a lot of coaches get upset about the smallest situations, the smallest things. You would think playing 9 conference games wouldn't rile up that many coaches, but apparently it has. And I get it to a certain degree, but when you sit there and go, well, hey, you promised us 9 games in the SEC that we'd get 16 teams in the playoff. I guess my retort to that would be, I mean, it's all of college football. It isn't just the SEC deciding that. So we can't, Greg Sankey can say, look, I pushed for 16, but all the other conferences shot it down and we lost in a vote 3-1. Like, what can you say? So I don't know. I mean, coaches are liable to complain about everything, and I kind of get it. They're kind of a bunch of Grinches, if you ask me, because I used to be one, so I kind of understand. But I do think at some point 16 is going to be that number. But I just wonder what the coaches were told about the timeline. Hey, go to 9 games in 26. We'll get to 16 playoff teams by this particular year. Now, like I said, if it's 26, we'll have 16 playoff teams in 26, and that didn't happen, okay, I'd be a little upset. But also, I would step back and go, when 9 games were proposed and the 16-team thing came up, my next question would be, so you're telling me 9 games in the SEC, that year we're going to go to 16? We have that much control? We can push this through with the college football playoff powers that be? This is going to happen? If they were told yes, then yeah, they got a right to be upset. But if you kind of think about it like a lawyer and kind of shoot holes in all the different points in the argument, the coaches probably don't have a leg to stand on unless they were absolutely told this will happen in this year and this happens. You know how things go, David. You get guaranteed one thing and, well, the rug gets pulled out from under. We worked at a radio station that did that to us plenty. So we know how those agreements go.
That is the great Johnny Harris. Johnny, enjoy the airport driving, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. See you, buddy. Love you.
See ya. My brother, John Harris, there on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We will hit a break. We will come back, find out what's popping with track and field. Kayla Gaither's got an update because the West Regionals are going on right now. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell online. CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. If you're a business owner and ready to take your operation to the next level and you need a new fleet of vehicles, check out the good folks there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They've expanded their selection of commercial vehicles to meet your everyday need. Trucks, sedans, you name it, they got it all for you. They've got the muscle for your business demands, and they are a designated business elite dealer, which means they understand what it takes to keep your company moving forward. And as you know, every vehicle purchase comes with that legendary free oil change for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. It's about a 15-minute drive the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. I wish I had Olin here for it because he loves energy drinks. Catalyst Citrus Spark. This is one of the new flavors out there. Whether you're grinding through workouts, cramming for a test, or closing in on a deal or getting ready for TexAgs Live, you never know, right? Fast becoming the go-to fuel for Aggies everywhere. Zero sugar. I'm all in for that. Or synthetic sweeteners, no artificial colors or flavors. Catalyst delivers clean, high-performance energy with smooth, crisp taste that is never syrupy, designed for both health and hustle. You want to get going, you use this Catalyst right here. It's about pure energy and pure results. And what sets them apart? Packed with premium nootropics blended to boost focus, clarity, and mental stamina. I need this. I'm in, guys. I'm in. Plus, with plant-based caffeine, vitamin B12, B6, Catalyst supports metabolism and energy production, making it more than a drink. It's your lifestyle training partner. Built for competitors on the field, Catalyst fuels strength, focus, and pure results. Buy now at drinkcatalyst.com. That is drinkcatalyst.com. Train harder, think sharper, pure results. It's Catalyst.
Howdy, this is Texas A&M pitcher Aiden Sims. You're listening to TexAgs Live.
All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. I want to remind folks, this is usually when we do our weekly conversation with Pat Henry, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company and MasonHay.com. But they're getting ready for the West NCAA Regional. So, yeah, I think I said that correctly. From running shoes to Aggie pajamas, the Aggie family has got you covered. Visit the Brazos Running Company in Century Square or shop at Mason Hay at MasonHay.com. So, Kayla Gaither at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center is going to give us all the tidbits and all the forecasting that we need to know about A&M's chances for a national championship and getting folks to running at Eugene, or participating in Eugene, I should say.
Yeah, so like David was saying, the NCAA West first round is happening today. It's basically the regionals before the national championship in Eugene. It's going on in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and the first event actually started at 9 a.m. It's the hammer throw, and it's going underway right now. So the way that track and field works, whoever places, so for individual events, whoever places in that top 12 in the individual will move on to Eugene. And then for relay events, it's also the top 12 in that event as well. So some Aggies to look out for that are ranked nationally in the NCAA. We have in the men's 800, Peter Narumbe, who's currently 5th. JQ Scott is
Narumbe a freshman?
He is a freshman.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah.
So JQ Scott is 1st in men's 400 hurdles and 4th in 110 hurdles.
So far, they're both going. I feel
yeah. So they're very well ranked in the NCAA. There's a really good chance they're going to go to Eugene. And then the men's 4x1 teams. Currently, there are 5 4x1 teams ranked top 10 nationally in the NCAA. So, and one of the teams is second with a time of 3 minutes and 77 seconds. So there's a really good chance that this team will make it to Eugene as well.
Multiple teams is what you're telling me.
Multiple teams. And the men are currently ranked 4th overall as a team in the NCAA. So there's a really good chance we can see a lot of Aggie men in Eugene. And then moving on to men's javelin, Zaza Namdi is currently 1st in the NCAA with a throw of 84.68 meters or 277 feet and 10 inches. He's also on the Bowerman watch list that was announced yesterday, and that's an event that's an award for field athletes who are performing really well, and he is performing really well. He also won the SEC in Auburn, and that was his 4th consecutive javelin first place in. He was in the Big 12 for the past 3 years with Baylor, and now he won an SEC championship. So that was his 4th consecutive conference championship. Moving on to the women's events. In the women's 100 and 200 meters, Cameron Dixon is currently 5th with a time of 11.02 for the women's 100 and 1st in the NCAA with a 22.15 time in the 200 meters. So she has a really, really good chance of also making it to Eugene. And then also in the 200 meter, Anya Jackson is 4th in the NCAA with a 22.56 time. 100 hurdles, Jaya Covington is 2nd in the NCAA. Women's 3,000 steeplechase, there's an Aggie, Deborah Chirono, with a time a little bit under 10 minutes. I don't even know how you run steeplechase under 10 minutes. I mean, that's just insane. And then the 4x1 relay is 4th and 8th in the NCAA for the women. So lots and lots of Aggies could be making it to Eugene, and that is all going on from today until, I believe, Friday or Saturday. And look out for those events. They're going on right now. Just started.
Gaither, great job. Thank you very much. I'm going to read this. I would like your opinion and Cage's on this. Kirby Smart on lack of enforcement in college athletics. Our friend SEC Mike posted this video, but it paraphrases. What happened with litigation is there are no guidelines. I'll just go to court. I'll just go to court. I'll just go to court on everything. Not just on player eligibility, but everything. And this is kind of going back to the Brendan Sorsby situation, and we've seen it many other times. Could you imagine at TexAgs, like, you don't get that vacation day off, that you want, or you don't get the cream that you want them to buy for your coffee, or the right protein bar, and we just like everything that I know that those pale in comparison to what these athletes are doing, but he's on to something about everything is like, all right, I'm not getting my way, I'm going to court.
It's hard when there's no central government in the NCAA or the SEC or football in general, because like with Brendan Sorsby, the NCAA denied his reinstatement, but he can just go to somebody in Lubbock that loves Texas Tech football and happens to be a judge and can rule in his favor. So we're seeing it so much, especially I feel like in basketball as well, with just people from the G League coming over, people playing in the NBA, wanting to come back to college. There's not really any guidelines for it. So I can't even imagine, coming to TexAgs and saying, hey, I want July 4th off. Oh, no, you can't have July 4th off. Okay, well, I'll just go to David Nuño and he'll tell me to take July 4th off, but he won't.
Technically, I would tell you to take the day off because we're not working that day. But Kadinsky, I know a bunch of cops in town. A bunch of them go to my gym, and I wonder if they were to pull me over for like going 70 and a 50, which probably wouldn't happen because I'm slow. If they would be like, Nuño, what are you doing, buddy? Here's a warning. Or do you think they'd give me the because I mean, that's basically what's happening when Sorsby goes to a judge. If you were from another school, I'd say it'd be fine, but
No, it's kind of funny. So I think there would be a chance for that because it's about like the connections, right? And it's also, I think, ever since the NIL legislation got, approved, or NIL in general got approved, whenever the NCAA tries to make some sort of sweeping, like, no, you can't do this, everybody's like, ha, that's cute. What sort of authority do you have anymore? So they'll just say like, oh, you're going to deny me? Well, I'm going to go to this person who won't, and then you still can't do anything about it. So it just feels like since NIL happened, the NCAA has just been slowly losing their authority as like the governing body of college athletics, and there needs to just be there needs to be major reform at the top in order for things to get back to a I guess a normalcy.
Whatever
some
normal
sort of
was.
whatever normal was, or whatever normal would be in this era.
All right, we're gonna hit a break here. We're gonna come back with a guy who knows a thing or two about a thing or two. His name is Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC. He's going to join us on the other side. How about we talk Chance McClain and Heritage Films? They do documentaries, and you've probably heard me talk about Chance and his company. You're like, yeah, I get it, David. They do stories. Cool. And then I'm like, do you love your family, bro? Do you actually love your last name? Do you love what your grandfather did? Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, he was all right. Well, you need to call Chance McClain and tell that story, because that's how you show love. And you're not just showing love for the grandpa or the dad in this story or the mother, right? You're showing love for the future generations, your future grandkids, nieces and nephews, whatever it may be, because everybody's family has a story, and there's some details to that story that need to be told in a documentary form. And Chance McClain and his team at Heritage Films do exactly that. They tell these stories in a 2-hour documentary that you're going to think you're watching a Netflix special. It's fantastic. The website to get this done is yourheritagefilm.com. That website again, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Puppies Catering and Bartending Hotline. Let's talk to our buddy Chris Gordy from Locked On SEC and iHeartRadio in Houston. What's up, brother? How you been?
What's up, David? It's never a slow time for news when it comes to the SEC.
Yeah, man. So where are you on this? Look, we as talk show hosts, especially that focus on college football, we oftentimes during this part of the year talk about the business of college football. Where are you on this 24-team eventual playoff, 12-team playoff, 16-team playoff? What the SEC you think really wants, not what they're saying necessarily on camera?
Yeah, I mean, I think the majority of the league does want to go to 24 teams because it allows more access, as so many of these people have said. I mean, you know, you think about the Georgias and the Alabamas and teams that are perennially in the playoff. Yeah, I mean, I think they're fine with staying at 12, even though Kirby Smart, I think, has come out and said he supports 24 teams. But it's like everybody from Shane Beamer to, you think of all those like middle tier, Josh Heupel, like all those teams that are kind of middle of the pack to, lower tier in the SEC. Yeah, of course they want 24. They want this thing to be as open as possible, where maybe there's a possibility that, 9-3 and 8-4 SEC teams get a chance to make a 24-team playoff. So I get that. What I don't like, David, is the SEC seemingly here in the last year or so kowtowing at every decision that Tony Petitti and the Big Ten wants. It started with, the SEC going to a 9-game conference schedule. It had been talked about for years. They pushed back on it. The Big Ten kept saying, "Oh, come on, guys. Finally, SEC gives in. They go from 8 to 9 games conference schedule. Now it's the 2014 playoff. The Big Ten's pushing the SEC, and it looks like the SEC is probably going to end up going along with it. And then yesterday, we hear the athletic directors for the SEC voted on those late November cupcake games that have always been a thing in the SEC. It always gives kind of a respite, a chance to catch your breath and get healthy. But the Big Ten's complained about it for years. Oh, you guys play a cupcake in November. We're all playing conference games. And the SEC gave into that. On the outside looking in, David, it looks like the SEC is bowing down and giving in to every demand that the Big Ten has criticized the SEC for over the years.
Why? Why do you think, like, the SEC that I know and the Greg Sankey that I thought I knew had a more powerful voice? And is it because they're losing national championships? That can't be the reason. Is it because the Big Ten signed a bigger financial deal with their television partners? What's the reason behind it? And maybe you could say is when they allowed Texas and OU into the conference, everything went south. I'm kidding, but I'm not.
Well, you could write a theory on that. I think part of it is that we're supposed to kind of have this partnership, right? It was this whole thing of we're the two big power brokers. We have the biggest brands. And there was, all this talk the last couple of years of, could the SEC and Big Ten pair up and branch off and create their own league and all this? And so I think that's maybe the genesis of why Sankey has gone along with some of these ideas. But man, this latest proposal that's out there, in Congress, the Senate bill that's being proposed this week is going to include the idea of pooling media rights altogether with all the conferences. And I said, my God, if the SEC goes along with that, what do you have that makes you unique anymore? You have no power because, granted, the SEC and Big Ten will get a larger chunk of the pie if that does happen, but you lose, your $1 billion unique contract that you have with ESPN and ABC, that goes by the wayside. And what power do you have anymore if you're just giving everything that makes you unique away? So I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of pressure on the conference to come through and win a national championship. I've joked, I've said, look, I don't care who you root for in the SEC. Whoever represents the conference and gets to the championship game, you got to root for them.
No, that's not true.
Rooting for Longhorns.
That's not going to happen, bro.
I'm just saying, like, from a conference standpoint, like, you can't think of a scenario, David, where Oregon wins the national championship this year. You're talking a 4th different Big Ten team in a row winning it, and all that revenue going back into the Big Ten where they share all that money. And it's a little scary if you're an SEC, diehard, because the Big Ten has certainly surpassed them these last couple of years.
All right, I'm going to ask you something I asked John Harris earlier, just get your take on it. What does college football look like, I'll say 2031? What does the SEC look like in 2031?
Yeah, we're talking 5 years from now. I would not be shocked, David, if there was a world where the SEC and Big Ten have created their own super conference. And at least in football, I know some people were saying all sports. I think there's a world where they can negotiate this where they do it just in football, but still take part in the NCAA and college basketball and baseball and all those other sports. Again, it's going to take a lot of negotiating and a lot of give and take. But I just feel like the world of football, it's the haves and the have-nots. And man, when they go sit at those negotiating tables and the Big 12 and the AAC has demands, I think Petiti and Sankey look at them like they're crazy. Like, why are we listening to these people? And so I think we are the evolution of where this thing is headed. I think we're headed to a world where there will be a break off. And, and again, it's not the worst idea where the SEC and Big Ten pair up and, their non-conference games, they play against each other. You could probably still find a world where you play a Samford or a Chattanooga, one-off in a non-conference game. But, I think that's where this thing is headed just because there is such a large separation. People try to compare it to the NFL. You can't compare it to the NFL. The NFL is 32 teams and 16 teams make the playoffs, literally half the teams. We're talking about college football where we got 120 plus teams and only 12 make the playoff. And, granted, if we expand, it's still only 24. You're still talking 80% of the sport not making the postseason. And I thought Steve Sarkisian had a great quote the other day where he said, this playoff or bust mentality, it can't last. We just had a guy in James Franklin just went to the playoff semis the season prior to last, and he got fired mid-season last year. I mean, if we keep this playoff or bust mentality, I mean, what are we going to fire Mike Elko when he goes 8-4 2 years in a row? Like, you didn't make the playoff. Like, it's a dangerous world we could be heading toward.
Yeah, I hope we don't see an 8-4 back-to-back years for the record, because I just don't think this fan base is ready for that at this point. But if you continue, if they go down this SEC Big Ten path, right, and let's say it's how many teams in this world? 40, 50? What do you think?
Yeah, you're probably going to have, and what people don't consider is you would have more expansion too. So maybe they peel off a Clemson, maybe they peel off a Florida State, and you get some more bigger brands in this thing. But yeah, 40-ish.
40-ish. Okay. Who's going to lose? I mean, who's going to win? You're going to have a bunch of, you need some bad teams too. I hate to say it like that, but you need a bad team or two, a team in the NFL every once in a while that goes 3-13, all right? And I know that Arkansas has had some rough times, but and maybe those are the lower tier Big Ten teams. Not a shot at the Big Ten, but the lower tier Big Ten teams, I think, would do horrendous in the SEC.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're talking Rutgers, Purdue. I mean, some of those teams. I mean, it'd be really bad. But then again, we talk about schedule and equity. You're going to have a schedule inequity. What if, you have a schedule where you avoid Alabama and Georgia and, Texas, and you avoid all the big teams, Ohio State, Michigan, all that. So it would take a lot of really fine tuning to even out the schedules and do that sort of thing. But I've said this for years, David, even when we were talking conference expansion, I said, you want to add two big brands like Texas and Oklahoma, they're not coming to the SEC to suck. They're coming to the SEC to try to win. And I'm like, if you're an SEC fan of, I don't know, South Carolina or Kentucky, I was saying, you want to expand? Let's add a Wake Forest. Let's add a Virginia. Let's add some teams that are beatable as opposed to adding two behemoths. And then, all the talk of people, wanting to push for, you think we can get Clemson and Florida State? I'm going, guys, stop. What, you really want to make that hard on yourself? Imagine a schedule, David, at A&M, has a schedule that includes, hey, week 1, we get Georgia, then it's at Alabama, then it's Texas, then it's Clemson, then it's, Florida State. It's like, good Lord, you got to have some kind of break. Someone has to stink. And so, that's the scary part of this world, particularly where the SEC is right now. You have even a Vanderbilt that was a doormat is pretty damn good. Clark Lee's a damn good coach. South Carolina ain't going to stay down long. They're going to bounce back up. It's just, you look around the landscape, man, and it's hard to imagine a world like that because it's going to be eat or be eaten, and there's just too many power teams out there.
I know you are an LSU guy. Are you loving the Lane Kiffin era sound bites, or are you like, dude, just be quiet a little bit? Where are you on Lane and his talking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not around it every day. I talk to my buddies that are there and cover it on a daily basis. I mean, they've embraced the whole, you got to embrace the villain role. I mean, that's what you did the day you hired Lane Kiffin. college football collectively made him the villain. How dare he leave a great fine institution like Ole Miss? I mean, that was the mentality that everybody had. And so, if you take emotion out of it and you take a step back, look, LSU's won multiple national championships the past 20 plus years. Like, Ole Miss is not been there forever. Like, it just made sense from a standpoint of the resources and everything he was going to be given at LSU. In a perfect world, yes, it would have been nice for him to be able to stick it out and pull a John Summerall and finish coaching the playoffs, but Ole Miss was not going to let that happen. And so thus he's the villain. And look, he trolls like better than anybody on social media and all that. So again, if you're an LSU fan, you got to take the good with the bad, and you kind of have to just deal with it. But yeah, I mean, look, I think the whole collective nation week 3 will be rooting for Ole Miss, little poor sad Ole Miss, to upset LSU and Lane Kiffin in week 3 of the college football season. And by the way, they might have a better team than LSU right now. Lane Kiffin said that a few weeks ago. They have Trinidad Chambliss. They have Kewan Lacey. LSU's got to figure out what Sam Levitt is. They got to figure out their run game and all this kind of stuff. And so, like I said, if you're an LSU fan, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to kind of embrace the villain role. But man, collectively, the whole rest of the nation is rooting for Lane Kiffin. I see in our comments every day on Locked On SEC, people are saying, I can't wait till Lane Kiffin loses. I can't wait till he fails. I can't wait till he falls on his face. And it's like, man, if you're Lane Kiffin, you almost have to deactivate all the social media, so just block out all the noise.
Gordy, I appreciate it, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, David.
See you, man. That's Chris Gordy on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break, find out what's popping on TexAgs today. And I got to respond to a YouTube chat because I just think some people, I'll just tell you on the other side. Everyone, David Nuño here for Allen Honda. Had a great conversation with them earlier today. John Allen's the owner. He's been here forever, and also their GM, Rusty Skinner, great guy. Wonderful conversation. They're super local. They're a family-owned dealership, not some massive auto group, and they treat their customers like family because they basically are family. They're Aggie alums. They love Aggie sports, and they've been serving the Brazos Valley with integrity, with passion, and commitment to excellence for over 50 years, which is very rare, by the way, for the independents because people trust them. And that's why they've been doing it for such a long time. Whether you're looking to buy, lease, or service your vehicle, you can count on them for transparent, no-pressure experience that puts your needs first. And I can attest to it. Had a great conversation about my own situation with them. Their knowledgeable sales team will help you find the perfect Honda to fit your lifestyle, from fuel-efficient sedans to versatile SUVs. Leasing options are flexible and affordable, making it easy to drive the latest models with confidence. And when it comes to service, their certified technicians only use genuine Honda parts to keep your vehicle running at its best, whether it's routine maintenance for major repairs or whatever it may be. And we know that trust isn't given, it is earned, and that's why generations of local drivers right here in the Brazos Valley and Bryan College Station keep coming back to Allen Honda. As part of the community with Aggie spirit in their hearts, they are here to make everyone's visit wonderful. So visit their showroom or their service lane and find friendly, efficient, and memorable situations when you go to Allen Honda. Come see why so many College Station and Bryan drivers choose Allen Honda for their automotive needs, and remember, gig 'em. All right, I'm going to go straight to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know we got to get on to what's happening on TexAgs today, but can you read Audrey's text?
Yes.
On the show? This can't be a real question. This is just like, it's the YouTube account that was started on May the 8th, which always makes, like, I research everybody, guys. I just do. I mean, it's not a rude question by any stretch. I'm not saying that. I'm just like, I just don't, if you think this way, I think you're trolling. So, and then, of course, I take the bait because I like to troll back.
So this person on the YouTube chat said, David, do we have a sports program, men's or women's, other than men's basketball, that has the arrow pointing upward? Talking top tier sports here, seems like our programs are in a spot of bother.
I don't even know what that means, a spot of bother.
Yeah,
are you from the 1920s, Audrey? Maybe you are. But I'm proud of you for getting on YouTube. I'm not sure that my dad, born in the 30s, knows how to, like, chat on the YouTube channel. That being said, oh my God, why do I have to do this?
Would you like me to?
No, I want to do it because I like to get
Go
angry.
ahead.
I like to, yeah.
Go ahead.
Pointing upward. What does that mean? That means a trajectory going in a good direction, better than good direction?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So year one of Mike Elko, 8-5, knocking on the door of the SEC championship game. Year two, same thing, but you go 11-2 and you make the playoffs. You won double-digit games, and you're asking me if one of the big three sports is trending in the right direction. Maybe you want to focus on the last two games. Okay, I got it. All right, cool. Gotcha. Baseball. 24 with a different coach, an inning away from winning a national championship, change in coach, two best players get hurt, don't make the tournament. This year, hosting a regional, most people in the world think that they were robbed of a super regional. Trending in the right direction? Upward trajectory? Okay.
I would say so.
All right. Basketball, brand new coach, brand new roster, picked to finish, 14th, 13th in the SEC, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the NCAA tournament and won a game. I'm yelling, I'm sorry. Softball, we know they've had some postseason heartache. They're freaking good. Hold on, let me keep going. Women's basketball definitely had some issues, but they got better midseason. They just weren't very good in the postseason.
Right.
Am I missing anything?
I mean, men's track and field, we just talked about it. They're ranked 4th in the nation. Women's is ranked 9th in the nation. I would say they're also trending upwards. They won a national championship last year.
So, big three sports, though. By the way, Matt, I don't know anything about Pokemon. That's TexAgs Live. We got a whole hour to go. Jason Howell next. There's like multiple songs going on. There's the YouTube song in the background, and there's the Brian Broadcasting song. Nobody can probably hear. That's probably an inside joke that nobody cares about. Welcome back to TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for Recruiting Country with Jason Howell, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. They're the only privately owned bank headquartered in Bryan College Station, and they're committed to helping our community prosper by offering you a wide array of personal and business banking solutions specifically designed to help build financial success with confidence and momentum on your side. And with that, we go to the Buffy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Jason Howell is with us, the man who smiles at all times. True or false? At a funeral, you smile.
Never mind. No, I'm not going to go there. I can. It can be a joyous occasion.
Well, I think you're the kind of person that calls it a celebration of life because you are always in a good mood.
Yeah.
What's going on? Okay, usually we start off some weird direction. Okay, what's weird going on with you? What restaurant, concert, beer pong? What's happened?
Man, beer pong. It's been pretty low key here this weekend. Had some camps. Went to trench warfare camp in Richardson, and then had the opening regional in Dallas-Fort Worth out at the Ford Center in Frisco, and it was really nice to be inside on both of those events. So didn't have to put on all the sunscreen, didn't have to stand out in the heat. It was a really nice air-conditioned experience as the camps continue. And we're looking to Texas A&M's upcoming camp schedule. So and then had a little Memorial Day. Had a couple cocktails, some barbecue, some smoked queso. I mean, family time, good stuff. How about you? How was Memorial Day?
Memorial Day was, we worked. Thanks for asking. Yeah. It was a show day. But no, it was a great weekend. My boys graduated Friday. I had soccer on Saturday, Sunday in the 100-degree weather. So it was good times. Hey, Jason, I'm going to put you on hold because you sound very muffled. I'm going to see if Cade can figure out what's going on with that.
Let me see something.
Yeah, and I'm going to check in with Kayla Gaither at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. At least in my headphones, it sounded a little muffled. Yours too?
Is that better?
Oh, sorry, pardon?
Is that better?
Oh my God! What were you doing wrong? This is amazing. I can hear again.
Oh man, this is me not plugging in a USB cord. That's what that is.
Oh, I was like, maybe I need Miracle Ear, the little things.
That's a little technical malfunction on my part. That's what happens when I'm my own engineer over here.
For a moment, I was like, maybe it's me, because Gaither gave me a look like, no, it sounds fine. And then I sent Kate a response. He didn't even look at it. So I was like, maybe I'm just, losing my hearing. All right.
No, we're good.
So, Jason, let's, I guess we can start off with the big news from over the weekend with Holden committing. Niemi, how do you say the last name?
Yeah, Niemi.
Niemi.
Out of Dexter, Michigan. Big 6'5", 225-pound tight end. Averages 20 yards a catch, 843 yards and 13 touchdowns on the season last year. Been a varsity player since his freshman year. You watch the tape and you see a real versatile game breaker. Physical blocker. He's a guy they move around, put in a lot of different spots. They throw him screen passes. They split him out wide. They line him up in line. They, put him off on the wing, and they move him around. In a lot of ways, we've seen A&M utilize those real dynamic guys that bring that dual capability of being a big pass catcher and a big blocker. So. He brings a well-rounded game to the table. Was one of Derek Shea's first offers when he got to town. I want to say that was an early January offer, January 12th, maybe if I dig deep. But he's been a guy that's been on the radar for a long time. Hasn't been the most talked about, but tight end has been one of those positions that we've kind of been wondering exactly what direction A&M would go. They evaluated a lot of guys. Niemi has been one of those guys that's been up there from the very beginning, as in that conversation in that top tier. And I think after his visit in March, he had a pretty good idea that A&M was going to be his pick, and he went ahead and pulled the trigger, canceled his other official visits, and he'll be back in town June 5th and graduates in December. I think that's the lowdown on Big Niemi. He's been recruited since he was a freshman. He's had, you see that offer list. A lot of those have come over multiple years, and he's been around and everything. But yeah, you're getting a guy who brings a lot to the table, and a very versatile skill set there at the tight end position.
So I've gotten used to A&M going all around the country to bring people, but I just don't think about the Midwest in that way for A&M to go and doesn't mean that I don't think they can, and obviously they can and have. They've done it in Philadelphia. Yeah. They've done it on the West Coast. They've done it everywhere. But just another example that the A&M reach, you can go in Big Ten territory and A&M can still get it done.
Well, and they did it last year too, especially at tight end. I think some of those spots. I mean, man, the Midwest is known for those tight ends, man, and that's an area that A&M's hit over the last few years, and again. At that tight end spot, they continue to look towards the Midwest, and they come up big with a guy they prioritized for a while here.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Live. Jason, who would you say led the charge to get Niemi to be an Aggie? Obviously, they've been recruiting him for a while, but was there a difference maker? Was there a coach that really had the whole team?
No, I think this one, Derek Shea, he deserves a ton of credit. If he was the guy who put the offer on the table. He's been out there and establishing relationships with the family and all that kind of stuff. And they've been on campus, and he's been the guy leading the charge there. And obviously, as the tight ends coach, I mean, you would expect that, and he's definitely done his due diligence when it comes to what he was looking for, and I think Holden kind of fits a little bit of everything and brings a lot to the table. When in all capacities there as a well-rounded tight end.
Who could be next, Jason?
You got to look towards this weekend. This is going to be a big weekend, and I know we're probably going to talk a little bit more about it later. But I'd look towards those big dog names. Eric McFarland is one out of IMG, receiver. He's been high on A&M for a long time. He's taken a few official visits in recent weeks. A&M continuing to trend well and really setting themselves up nicely going into the weekend. You never know with those big guys if they're going to go ahead and shut it down. But McFarland's one I could potentially see going ahead and deciding it's time, if especially if he knows that's what he wants to do. Albert Simeon is another one I'd put up there as one to watch. Notre Dame continues to be a big player there. LSU, it's hard to shoo them away and discount them for an in-state guy, but this one looks like it's really shaping up to be a A&M Notre Dame battle. We'll see what happens. He's got a visit planned out to Notre Dame, and he's got some things on his schedule, so it wouldn't be out of the question to see him go ahead and continue to see how those visits go. But A&M's in a great spot, and he's had A&M high on his list, and he'll be visiting with, he'll have Cade McCarty in his ear, his cousin there on the OV, and a few other A&M commits that I'm sure will be right there trying to make it happen and get it across the finish line. But he's one to watch, and I'd put Frederick Ards is another one that I'm really watching as far as that goes. As far as the bigger, more well-known names, but yeah, he's up there high. A&M is high on high on him, and Florida, South Carolina, a few other schools in there in that mix as well, and he's one to watch. But again, you're talking about a guy that has some official visits lined up, so it wouldn't be out of the question to see him, go ahead and let things play out a little bit longer as well before he's ready to make whatever decision he's going to make. So, but those are a few guys. But I mean, this weekend you could see. You could see some real activity. So we'll definitely be tuned in close as these guys make it to campus. So I think the first are starting around Thursday, and so tomorrow we'll start to see a little bit of activity there, and then throughout the weekend as these guys hit College Station.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Live. Let's go back to Eric McFarland for a moment. I forgot how the recruiting team phrased it, but basically someone's going to have to catch A&M. So they're far in the lead in this one, right? This is just basically on his timing, whenever he's ready, or at least that's what it feels like, right?
Yeah, A&M's in a great spot. I'd say I've heard that from, A&M's in the lead, and we kind of heard some of the similar statements being made about Mark Matthews. But when it comes to guys like Matthews and McFarland, there are definitely teams that are going to pursue hard to the very, very end. And but yeah, A&M's put themselves in a great position going into to the weekend. I'd say they're in the lead based on the things that I've been hearing.
All right, so for somebody who hasn't seen his film, how would you describe his game?
So A&M's pitch has really been, hey, come show out and shine like Mario Craver. They've really pointed towards his skill set and what he brings to the table. McFarland is maybe a little bit stouter, but he's not the biggest guy, not the tallest guy, but he is an electric receiver. He's got the speed and quickness to play all over the field. He's a guy you get the ball in a multitude of ways. You work in the screen game, like you see with Mario. He can get outside and blow down the field and get behind defenses in a hurry, and that's what Eric McFarland brings to the table. He's been I think a 2-time offensive MVP at IMG. So and he reclassified up to the 27 class. So he has been a dynamic playmaker at the highest of high school levels, and he showed out really strong at the All-American games too. I want to say he was offensive MVP at the Polynesian Bowl, and was just you see it when he's got the ball. He's a home run threat, and he's a guy that keeps defenders and defensive backs sleepless at night.
We got this class is taking shape. We are at 15 verbal commits. Am I right about that?
Yep, 15 commits, number 1 ranked class. You got 6 prospects ranked 5-star by at least one service or another. The only place that you don't have a commitment that you're kind of wondering what's going to happen, that's going to be running back and linebacker. And they're, running back, I think, you're looking at Len Williams-Callis, and then you kind of have Sarad Baker there on the periphery a little bit, but I don't think it's going to happen, shaking him loose from Tech. And then linebacker, you've got several big options, Caden Henderson being one. You've got some guys coming in this weekend, and Aston Whiteside and Mekhi Allen. And you're going to have a few others over the next few weeks that come in that are definitely prospects to watch. Have A&M pretty high on their lists going into the summer months. So J.B. Smith, let's see. I know Noah Glover, definitely want to include him. So, I mean, they've got several options there. And, but 15 commits, and you've got commits at just about every position on the field, and you're looking really strong going down this into the summer months with several 5 stars and top 100 type national prospects.
Now, Jason, I know anything can happen during a season, and teams can jump in the lead. Nothing is a foregone conclusion in today's college athletics. That being said, it feels like people are maybe not jumping off the ship as quickly as they used to, and that might be because of NIL. And I'm not talking about A&M. I'm just saying in general. Am I right on that assessment?
As far as decommitments go?
Yeah.
I mean, you see them around the country. You see them here and there. A lot of times those are mutual partings. Hey, we're gonna go this way, and the guy wants to look around at other options, whatever. You see some of that, but man, it definitely doesn't stop schools from trying. You see it with A&M's class right now. I mean, you've got these guys. Hakeem Frampton just said, "Hey, I'm locking in. I'm 100%. And they announced they're shutting it down or whatever. And that's essentially them saying, "Hey, please, I know what I'm doing. We're good. We're locked in." Kamari Dorsey recently did that over the weekend. You've seen a few other A&M commits make that announcement, and it's not, I guess, official, but it's one other statement of the strength of their commitment. And a lot of times it's because they have other schools trying to get after them, and they just it's a way to nicely say thank you, but I'm good.
All right, Jason, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with a little bit more on the other side. Recruiting Country brought to you by American Momentum Bank. Right now we're talking about Paragon Financial Advisors. When it comes to your money, peace of mind starts with the right team, and that right team is Aggie-owned Paragon Financial Advisors. They're an independent fiduciary serving clients all across Texas. No commissions, no sales pitches, just trusted advice tailored to you. They have a team of 18 professionals, including 9 CFPs, a CFA, and a CPA, and their expertise does run deep at Paragon because credentials matter, and so does your future. Visit paragon-adv.com or give them a call, 979-693-3907, to schedule your free consultation today. It is Paragon Financial Advisors, integrity, expertise, and trust. Paragon Financial Advisors. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. With that, we go back to the Puppies Catering and Bartending Hotline. Jason Howell, our recruiting expert, is still with us. All right, so it's a big official visit weekend, Jason. I'm going to say that headline, and you take it from there. What can we expect? Who are some of the visitors? What are we thinking this weekend?
Yeah, you've got 5 committed prospects coming to town this weekend, and you've got several uncommitted. It's looking like about a total of 14, 15 prospects on campus this weekend. You've got 5-star Kamari Dorsey committed, and he's going to be joined by a few different 5-stars. Eric McFarland, receiver, Ismail Kamara, Albert Simeon on the offensive line. You got John Meredith coming in at cornerback. You've got some exciting in-state guys. You've got Kamara, as mentioned. You've got Cade McCarty, Texas A&M commit there. And you've got linebacker Aston Whiteside, who's looking at A&M, Kentucky, and Miami. And as well as Jaden Fields and John Meredith. Keep an eye on Fields, athlete. He lit it up at a 7-on-7 camp last year at A&M and put himself firmly on A&M's radar. He's being recruited both sides of the ball. Holman Wiggins has taken a strong interest there, and he's got the Aggies high on his list coming into the weekend with the likes of SMU, TCU, I think Stanford, and I'm leaving someone, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's another big one on his list. But yeah, he's drawn attention on both sides of the ball. A very intriguing prospect to watch there. Mentioned Frederick Ards earlier as a big defensive lineman, edge defender kind of guy out of Florida with a ton of SEC attention. And they've really set this weekend up with a really good mixture of committed prospects, top targets, and it's the kind of thing, the right chemistry gets going, and you could see some things happen quickly. We see these guys come in, not just at A&M, but at other places with plans on visiting and taking other visits and deciding, you know what, it's time to shut it down. So just because a prospect has visits scheduled doesn't mean that they will take them. But it is something to watch, something to keep an eye on as the weekend goes on. And, if it doesn't happen over the weekend, doesn't mean it doesn't, it's never going to happen. But A&M's very strongly situated with several of these guys. They can make some moves. If you're looking for a guy that I think A&M has to really make a big move and put a strong foot forward for this weekend, to change the momentum, I'm looking at John Meredith right now. I'd say Texas has really kind of put themselves up at the top of his recruitment at this point. And but the weekend goes, the right way. Who knows? You could see that script flipped. There's definitely some interest there on both sides, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, a lot of big targets and a lot of commitments, and you're going to see recruiting happen from the staff to the commits working on these guys to even some of these parents, just having discussions in the downtime that really plays a dividend in the ultimate decisions.
So you wouldn't be surprised if a couple guys commit this weekend?
Absolutely not. I don't think it's out of the question. I also wouldn't be surprised to see nobody commit. But you know what? I do think they're able to get somebody in the boat from this weekend. I think that you'll see I like the odds more that you see one commit than you don't, and you might see more than one. So there, like I said, there's a lot of guys there. They're in very good position for going into the weekend, and it could be a situation where somebody goes, you know what, I've seen enough. I'm done. Let's go.
So what's ahead? What can we expect in the upcoming summer months?
Well, the next few weeks, it's going to be about official visits and summer camp, and you'll get to see my face down there in College Station quite a bit for the month of June. So we'll be down there covering the camps and seeing who comes to town. And it should be one thing we've learned covering Mike Elko's staff over the years is they're going to have a lot of talent. They're going to have them from all over the country. There's going to be guys that we've talked about. There's going to be guys that come to camp as, lowly recruited who emerge as top prospects and eventually end up big-time recruits that we're covering very hard over the course of the next few months and their recruiting cycle. So get ready for some new names to emerge. Get ready for we're going to see some action with this class. I expect coming out of July knowing 99% of what A&M's 2027 recruiting class is going to look like.
Jason, great job as always, buddy. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you here soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's the great Jason Howell there on the Bubby's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Before we hit a break, let's check in with Kayla Gaither there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because she didn't have a chance to tell us earlier what's popping on TexAgs today.
Well, before I get into what is on TexAgs today, I just want to say it's never a better time to become a TexAgs premium subscriber. A&M Baseball's hosting a regional this weekend, and we're going to have so much content coming out on the site and more, like Obi's article about Elko and others at the SEC spring meetings. He's currently in Destin getting all the information, and that is sponsored by the Angry Elephant. The TKO Performance of the Week, sponsored by TKO Equipment. They had that on yesterday's show, but you can watch the clip on the site today. We have Lunch with Lucci from Monday, sponsored by the 12th Man Foundation, and Richard Zane's breakdown of the Aggies being tagged as the 12th seed in the College Station Regional, sponsored by Sleep Station. Then later today, a recruiting long form by Brawny, photo gallery from Aggie Baseball at the Harvey Little League last night, Zane's pod breakdown of the regional, and an Olin column from the spring meetings.
Great stuff, Gaither. Make sure everybody signs up for that preseason kickoff, too. It's going to be a great event. All the coaches. Great conversation. It always is every year. All right, we'll hit a break. We will come back with Kendall Rogers. He, if I read correctly, and I read it this morning, has A&M making it to the College World Series.
Yes,
so I got to ask him about that. Like, bro, tell me more. I want to hear more about that, especially Audrey. Audrey needs to listen to that as well. Milliken Reserve Time, they're a farm-to-table community. They are in College Station. They've got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces, and they have a mission to build a healthy community around nature. It's a great place to go connect with your family, your wife, your kids, your uncle, whoever, right? It sounds like a heritage film spot, but it's not. I'm talking about just going outdoors and throwing the ball, kicking the ball, climbing trees, going hiking, biking, canoeing, kayaking, the equestrian trails that are there, the evening yoga. They got so many different things. They got summer events. It is an awesome place to go. Just kick it. And what you need to do is go get a Conservancy membership. You'll be helping to ensure that the native landscape and wildlife is all taken care of, and you'll be able to do only member benefits like access to trails, member activities, programs, and much, much more. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. millikenreserve.com. Go check it out. I know we're working on getting Kendall Rogers on the program. Talk a little Aggie baseball. I read some of Kendall's work this morning. I was like, wait, he's got A&M Omaha bound? Let me know more. So hopefully we'll get him here on the show in a moment. In fact, we're going to get him right now. We go to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, joined by D1Baseball's Kendall Rogers on the program. Kendall, what up, buddy?
How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. So hold on. I got to ask you. All right, so everybody was depressed, all right? Monday came around, A&M number 12 seed. You know, they see a path of how they could work their way through, but we all had our, eyes set on a top 8 national seed. Then tell me if I'm reading this correctly. Kendall Rogers has A&M in the 8 for Omaha. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I do like the pathway for them. I mean, I really like North Carolina's club, but I mean, I think that regional for A&M is winnable, and I think that offense can travel. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll see what the pitching does. I'm assuming Aiden Sims will at least be available in some capacity. If that happens, this is still a really good baseball team. But I'll tell you what, I think everybody would rather be paired with North Carolina than what a little birdie told me was originally the pairing, which is at one point Texas versus A&M. So I think everybody will take that on both sides of the coin on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't want to play another SEC team. And we've played them so much. They know them so well. I like the idea of taking on North Carolina, but they got to get through this regional. Why do you think they fell to the 12 seed? Was it the last Auburn game? Was it the 4 and 6 down the stretch? Was it the lack of health? Why do you think they fell as much as they did?
Yeah, I think they were going to be the 11th seed, but I think when Texas ended up being the 6th, I think they wanted to avoid that. So the question becomes, do you bump them up and bump Florida State down, or do you just bump A&M down one spot and move Oregon up, problem solved? So I honestly think that is the only reason they're the 12th seed. If you look at the teams ahead of them, I mean, Florida, self-explanatory. I mean, Southern Miss, if you look at the metrics, they're really good. Their RPI is really good. Florida State, I don't love the metrics, but again, the RPI is really good for Florida State. So, I mean, that's the reason why that's that pecking order. But I don't think it really had anything to do with, the way they played in Hoover. I think it's just honestly, I think they would have been the 10 or 11 or the 9. But, with that Texas matchup looming there, I think they just kind of, manipulated A&M around a little bit.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Live. All right, Kendall. I read about USC. I get worried because of the comparisons to Auburn, that pitching staff. But then I read that they're 1-11 in quad 1 games. So how good of a team is this USC team? How good is that pitching staff? And if A&M plays them, how concerned should an A&M fan be?
Well, I mean, I'll say this about USC, and Andy Saquist does an awesome job. But I will say this about them: if you look at their road splits, especially from an offensive standpoint, it is not very impressive. I actually think A&M's a terrible matchup for USC because where they succeed is when they play teams who are a little bit offensively challenged. Because again, like you mentioned, with Mason Edwards and Grant Gavell as their 1 and 2 guys, they typically have the advantage on the mound. But they're not a very offensive team. You go, top to bottom and go look at their numbers with Kevin Taguchi and guys like that. Like they're solid. They're not great. And so I think A&M's a bad matchup for them. And I will say this: if you're at the game Friday, make sure you stay and watch Mason Edwards against Texas State. Man, he is a special arm.
So, do you expect Mason Edwards to start on Friday? Do you think that's what's going to end up happening?
I would not take Texas State lightly if I was USC. And I guess you could start Gavell. And I wouldn't say it's some incredible step down, but, Texas State's an older team. They've got physicality in their lineup. If I'm Andy Saquist and I have Mason Edwards, I do not want to go in the rest of the weekend knowing, like, I could have won that first game had I just thrown my ace potentially. So I kind of expect Edwards, but I guess it's not a crazy theory to think they might start Gavell.
What about Chris Olivier, the starter for Lamar? Talk to me a little bit about him, because I know A&M obviously had success against Lamar in the midweek, but this is a different level of pitcher.
Yeah, he has been really good this year, and I think the biggest thing for him is, he's a guy with experience, and he's a guy with elite pitchability. I think for A&M, he's a guy that's going to paint the zone. He's going to go up, he's going to go down, he's going to go on both sides of the plate. And so I think patience will be very important for A&M. What I mean by that is patience and finding the pitch you want to hit. And so He's obviously had a great year, and I do know, I know some teams are in the area that, were hosting and did not want Lamar for the simple fact they would have to face that guy. But I will say this. I think A&M's a different animal than, let's say, a team like Texas. I just think A&M offensively is so much better. I mean, frankly, A&M's offense to me, outside of Georgia Tech and Georgia, is the best offense in the country when they're clicking. And that's kind of what I expect this weekend. So, if I'm A&M, am I, I wouldn't say worried is the right word. Am I a little bit weary of Olivier? Yeah. Am I really concerned? Not really, because I think if that offense is dialed in, it doesn't really matter who's on the mound.
Well, and I was going to add to that, not only if they're clicked in offensively, but the health of the team seems to be trending in the right direction. And how big of a part do you think that
Partita is good to go? I mean, yeah, they're fine.
So how big of a difference do you think that makes? Not just Nico himself offensively, but just getting Aiden back, Nico back, and just guys moving to their natural positions.
Yeah, I mean, without being super critical, I mean, the fact of the matter is when you get Nico back out there, it allows you to move Grahovic back over to first base. And to me, it stabilizes things defensively. It certainly stabilizes things offensively, getting Nico's bat in there and getting another bat out of there. But I just think just from a production standpoint, from a mental standpoint, you don't feel like you're all beat up anymore when, one of your top guys is back out there. So I think it's big. I mean, the question mark for me really is just, how does Aiden manage Aiden Sims and how do they pitch? Let's just say he can only go 30 or 40 pitches throughout the weekend. There is somebody on that staff that's going to have to step up. I mean, and the guy for me is probably Clayton Freshcorn. I think you're going to see an outing by Freshcorn this weekend where I think he goes 5 innings to close the game out. And, he certainly has done that this year. I can't remember what series it was, but he went 4 or 5 innings out of the bullpen. Was it Mississippi State? I can't remember. They all run together. But, that's kind of what I expected this weekend.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Live. Kendall, do you give Tennessee a chance in the North Carolina Regional?
Absolutely. I mean, they're going to hold Tegan Kuntz for Game 2, which is kind of interesting because East Carolina is holding Ethan Norby for Game 2. So you got Tennessee and ECU both pitching their number 2s, in that opening game. So one of those two teams is going to win, and they're setting it up to throw their ace against North Carolina. I will say this. I think if Tennessee can beat East Carolina, anybody who saw Tegan Kuntz against Texas a couple weeks ago on ESPN, I mean, that dude is special when he's on. And so I would give them a pretty decent shot against North Carolina in that second game. So I would keep an eye on that one just because North Carolina, I'm not saying they've done it, often, but they have a history a couple of times here and there of kind of floundering in their own regional. So I would keep an eye on Tennessee. I think they can win that regional.
Which is the hardest regional in your opinion?
I go with Lincoln. I think if you look at that regional, and of course, I'm super happy for Will Bold and Rob Childers and even Kyle Nicholson, who's on that staff now. I've known those guys for a long time. But tell you what, they've got a tough regional. You look at the number 2 seed in Ole Miss. Again, I think anybody who saw Ole Miss down the stretch with Taylor Rabe on the mound, Hunter Elliott was on that national championship team. Cade Townsend, they can really pitch. And then Arizona State is your 3 seed. Cole Carlone, their Friday guys back, up to 98, 99. Then also, you have Landon Hairston, who's will be one of the finalists for Player of the Year. So I think that is a regional where I could see any of those 3 teams winning that thing.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Live. Kendall, you got a good vibe or a good feel for Auburn. Why do you think they could take it all?
Yeah, I just look at their rotation. And maybe I'm a little bit jaded by the fact that how good they've looked in the games that I've covered with them this year. I mean, I thought they looked spectacular that weekend against A&M. I felt like even the game A&M won, it was just like A&M is hanging on by a thread in that win. And so I think if you look at the common denominator on a team that can win the national championship, it's great rotation, yes. Good enough bullpen, yes, for Jackson Sanders. The lineup has shown more power. You look behind the plate, Chase Fralick has been not only really good behind the plate, but has been very good clutch and offensively. Then you look at the overall vibe. I always look at teams who, throughout the season, do they look like a team who's ever stressed out? Because if they do, that worries me about the postseason. But when you look back at Auburn, I think back to the series at Bluebell, even in tight games, I mean, they were loud. They were, having fun, jumping around. And that's just kind of how they are, whether they're winning or losing. So I love that mental kind of approach from Auburn. They just have a really good vibe right now.
Kendall, what do you think are the 2-3 keys for A&M to move on of the regional this weekend?
I think you kind of, I don't know if there's a better way to put this, but I think in that first game, I think you kind of show who's boss a little bit. This is a team that, they're going to feel like they were underseeded. They're playing a team who, with their ace, people are going to think that Lamar has a shot. And I think if you're A&M, you make a statement in that first game, get after them, and see if you can run away with it. I'm very curious as to how aggressive Mike Early is with this offense early on. I think this team's going to be looking to make a point in that first game against Lamar. So that would be the key for me, is get the weekend off on the right foot. You don't want to be in a game with Lamar where you're going in the 8th or 9th inning and just like, and there's tension in the crowd, because I feel like that spills over to the next day. It's like, man, maybe we're not playing as well as we were earlier in the year. So I think making a statement in that first game is big.
Kendall, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it. We'll see you this weekend. Thank you.
See you, bud. Kendall Rogers, D1Baseball on the Buffy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break. Come back with, in case you missed it, we should have Sid and Kaylee in studio here in a moment. Right now, ground shuttle. So if you're traveling, I'm traveling. Unfortunately, I'm traveling out of the Austin airport this weekend. But when you're traveling through Bush, you should use ground shuttle. You can catch up on work emails. You can take a nap. You can read a book. Can't read in a car. It just doesn't work for me. But it works for a lot of people. You can just catch up on work stuff, right? You want to send some emails, you can do that there through ground shuttle. They'll do the driving for you, and it's a very convenient way to do it. They're in South College Station, right next to the Casa de Brazil. They'll get you to Bush. You don't have to worry about the traffic. You don't have to worry about the parking. They'll just take you there. They've got 9 shuttle times on the weekdays every hour and a half, and 5 shuttle times on the weekends every 2.5 hours. It's a great way to get around. Great for business travelers, for students, commuters, you name it. You can book it at groundshuttle.com. That is groundshuttle.com. Call them up, 855-303-4415. That is 855-303-4415. It's Ground Shuttle. Let them do the driving. In case you missed it, Kaylee Dreyer in studio to catch me up on things that I probably didn't pay attention to.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Miss
Good.
Dreyer?
I'm missing Sydney, but she's having fun on a cruise.
Yeah, well, I would prefer to be on the cruise than
Yeah.
doing this last segment. But of course, then now you're here. I told her like 30 minutes ago, I'm ready to be done.
Uh-huh.
I'm ready. Like I'm ready to take a break.
Yeah,
Right? I've had a very long day.
Uh-huh. What time did you wake up?
4:07.
Oh.
But she was awake around the same time because
A late sleeper. Like, I went to bed at
So something was on your laptop because it said you were on the document this morning.
At 4 o'clock?
At like 4:48.
Somebody was on my account because I
It was on
not
there.
awake.
Well,
I need to
I
figure
wonder
out.
who's been getting on your laptop. Somebody was on there. I was like, oh, wow, she's on there early. That seems
Interesting.
weird
I'll
for a
have to
college
look
student.
into that.
Way to go, Bickham, steal people's laptops. Dreyer, what did I miss?
Yeah, so first thing on In Case You Missed It, which I'm sure you didn't because it has been all over Twitter, but these ABS graphics that all the SEC teams have been making, it started out with Ole Miss, and it wasn't a joke, and Ole Miss said, history made, claiming to be the first college team ever to make an ABS challenge. Well, then Mississippi State followed it up and said the first Mississippi team to correctly challenge a pitch.
Oh, wow. So Johnny Topper's on here, right? They're just trying to top each other.
And then Arkansas, Texas, Auburn, and now Louisiana put one out yesterday.
Go ahead.
What?
Nothing. Just go. Please.
Kaylee, go.
Yesterday, I don't understand.
Me neither. Just go.
Yesterday, Louisiana put one out that said the only college baseball program in the state of Louisiana to reach the NCAA regionals in the ABS era. So it just continues.
I didn't listen to the last 10 seconds, sorry. But I definitely missed it. All right, what else do we have?
So the next thing that we have is there was a fight that broke out in the Kentucky locker room, which obviously I'm sure this happens all the time.
Now, this I did see. Look at this fight. Go ahead, talk about
But the fact that it was on video is kind of crazy.
Look at that
And it's a real
slam.
fight. Yeah.
It's like a high school fight that somebody filmed in the cafeteria.
One of those guys does not look like he plays football.
Yeah.
So do we know why they were fighting?
I haven't seen why, but I just kind of thought, I was like, this is one of the more crazier fights that feel like I've seen. And in a football locker room where...
Who posted like that? I think that guy's the bad guy in this story, right? Like, fights happen. Keep that in the locker room, bro. All right, what else?
And then the last thing I have is Casey Concepcion is now wearing number 1 at Cleveland, and he did. Quinshon Judkins was planning on wearing this number, and he gave it to Casey.
That's very nice. We don't know if they had to come up with some kind of agreement.
Oh, I have no idea.
We just know that he's going to wear 1,
Yes.
even though Judkins was going to wear that.
Yes. Judkins was number 10, so.
Okay. And then, Gaither, you've got one to add because I'm aware of this drama.
Yeah, so some drama happened in last week's Super Regional when Texas Tech went to Gainesville to play Florida. So Jason Williams was a former Florida basketball player. His daughter, Mia Williams, transferred from Florida to Texas Tech this year. And naturally, they played each other in the Super Regionals. Jason Williams ended up being ejected in the first game after arguing with a Florida fan who I think allegedly hit Mia with an object from the stands. So a lot of
They did let
drama
him back
happened.
in, by the way.
Yeah, they let it back in, but they didn't let that one fan back in.
Good.
But Mia Williams, she hit the go-ahead 2-run homer in Game 1 and another lead-taking homer in Game 3. And she was hit by a pitch 5 times throughout the Super Regional weekend. So it just sparked a lot of drama. And Jason Williams took to social media, and he said, the only time I'll ever step foot on Gainesville's campus again is if my daughter plays softball there again. And then talking about his other daughter, he said, whatever NIL money she got from the University of Florida, I would ask you to help me double that so she can stay away. But he ended up apologizing for his comments, but just a lot of drama.
You hit my kid 5 times. I wonder if I have a word or two to say as well. Anyway, we can't top that segment. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys mañana.